Ooh-wee, that's a shiny chisel. It only took me 10 hours. Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be sharpening some things. This video is the first in a series of sharpening tools. We're going to be first sharpening some woodworking tools, then some kitchen tools, pretty much just the knives, and then some outdoor tools. To be clear, I am not a professional. I would consider myself the dabbliest of dabblers as it comes to woodworking and sharpening and things like that. This is a relatively new skill that I am in the process of learning, but the point of these videos is not to teach you a master class of something. It's literally just to bring you along for the journey so that you can have fun with us as we have fun going through these experiences. In order to get into this sharpening episode, for this introductory one, we're going to lay out all of the things that we'll have at our disposal, all of the things that we'll be sharpening, and let's get to it. Bench planes, chisels, kitchen knives, hand axe, sickle, and the kitchen knives. Now that we've got all of the things we'll be sharpening out in front of us, let's bring out the tools we'll actually be using to sharpen things. Rubber pads, a towel, diamond plates, a honing guide, and a sharpening stick. For this first video, we're just going to be focusing on the woodworking tools, so we will actually set these other tools aside. To set up our sharpening station, I'm going to go ahead and kind of construct what I've put together, which is a combination of these rubber pads, a towel, and the diamond plate to give us a nice stable surface for pushing the blades on and sharpening them pretty easily. So I take this bigger rubber pad, put that as kind of the base, put the towel on top of that, and that's even pretty firm as it is, but with the diamond plate on just the towel, it slides a bit. So I've got a second little rubber pad that's about the width of the diamond plate, and that's pretty solid on its own. And then it creates a nice grippy surface where it's not nearly as easy to push around, especially when you're putting pressure on it. It really doesn't move much at all. So that's the setup. And with the diamond stone and its kind of foundation setup, I also grabbed a glass of water because the water kind of helps move the filings out of the way as you're going. If you don't use water, I've found that it kind of gunks up the diamond plate, and you have to then go like wipe it off and don't want to deal with filings everywhere. So I use a little bit of water. To start off, I'm going to get all this crud out of the way that ended up on the sharpener. I think that came out of one of the planes. And we'll be starting with the 140 grit diamond plate. The way I do this is I just put a little bit of water on here, and we're going to be flattening out like the bottom face of these irons first before we even go into using the honing guide and getting angles and all of that stuff. So we will just go ahead and start flattening this out. Always forget something. With this permanent marker, we'll go ahead and we will mark the top edge of this so that we can see where we are actually shaving off material, because in the end we really only care about this upper edge right here. Now that we have that marked up, just like that, we're going to go ahead and start grinding it down and trying to get all of that marker off of there, because that means then we are flattening out the entire face of that cutting edge. To do this, I just put it down on here and I make that cutting edge perpendicular to the direction I am sharpening in. So if I'm pushing forward and back, I'm going to make sure that that cutting edge is to the left or the right. I'm right-hand dominant. I find it a bit easier to do it that way. So we just take this, put a bit of pressure on here, and then drag it back and forth. We'll put in some pressure on there and just do that until we take off the amount of material that we're looking for. And for us, that's going to be making sure we get all that marker off of there. So yeah, we're looking pretty good. We'll see here on the edge, can't really see it in the video there, but if I put my finger there, you'll see a little bit of black in the corner. And that basically is showing us that we are getting most of this edge, but not quite the corners. So we're actually gonna have to grind down a bit more material to hit those corners. And we can just kind of do like a time-lapse speed-up video of that, so you don't have to sit here and watch me do it.
Two hours later.
All right, so after trying that a little bit, going to actually flip the plane over, or the plane iron over, and we'll go ahead and try just sharpening the bevel side. So I want to sharpen that to about 25 degrees. All right, so we've got our ruler that has centimeters on it, and we're gonna go ahead and measure out 50 millimeters, so 5 centimeters, on this honing guide. Good enough. That is nice and tight. Go ahead and sharpen the bevel, which is the little angled bit of this plane iron. We are at the point where we can actually pull this plane iron back to 38 millimeters and grind that down to get our other bevel, kind of the cutting edge bevel. Yep. All right, flip this over again and let's get rid of this 140 grit. Then we'll move on to the 400 grit. Moving on to the 400 grit, just double check. Yep, this is our 400 grit. Go ahead and plop that down. Get this in the honing guide the right way. Tighten it up. It's looking nice. Getting shiny. Oh yeah, nice and shiny. Decent burr, but we will deal with that on the 1200 grit. All right, now we will go ahead and pull out our 1200 grit. Certainly not the finest grit we could use. Now that we have our 1200 grit out, we're gonna go ahead and do what we've been doing the whole time. This is nice and shiny. Some people like to call it like a mirror finish when they can get it really nice. This isn't a mirror finish, but actually, we can just test it on this piece of scrap wood real quick. And just takes a nice cut out of the corner of that piece of wood. We got this pretty good. It was looking really rough on the edge. It's still got a couple rough bits, but otherwise, it's pretty dang sharp. We will move on to the second plane iron and sharpen that up, starting at the 140 grit like we did this one. Hopefully it's a little easier since it's a plane iron that came from a assumed better plane, since it's kind of a vintage one that was at an antique store. So we'll see. We'll go ahead and put this one in the plane and see how it cuts. That, and then we'll go ahead and put the, aha, there we go. Ooh, that's like butter. And we are going to move on to chisels. All right, after some technical difficulties, I've realized that the recording has not been working. So we will, if you heard the audio change a little bit, that's why. And we are on to the next chisel. All right, and with this chisel done on the 400 grit, so 2 chisels so far, we're gonna hit the other 3 chisels. Last go around. All right, and on to the last chisel. This is working out nicely. Now we are done with the 140 grit. We are going to move on to the 400 finally. All right, so that is all of the chisels done. And that means we have both planes, well, both plane irons, and all 5 chisels are now nice and sharp. Hey, Editor Tristan here. I hope you liked the video and the bit of a different format. If you like the format, hit like or even subscribe if you want to see more like that. It's how I hope to do a lot of the woodworking videos. And yeah, so stay tuned for part 2.